I think we are live.
Perfect. Okay. Hey guys, welcome. I'm just going to get rid of this so that we don't get an echo. Okay, wonderful. Okay, hello, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're all well and having a wonderful weekend so far. My name's Lucy Kennedy. I'm founder of Essex Grammar Hub, and I'm joined by the lovely Nkem Ivara, who is founder of Wordsmythe Tutoring.
Hello.
So we thought that we would do this live today based on our experience as tutors. So both of us help prepare students for 11 plus. And there's definitely some information out there that maybe parents don't really get told within the process and find out as you're going along. So we're basically doing this so that you're ahead of the game in that sense. We do need to just quickly go through a disclaimer before we go through the 10 things. So I will read that out now. So the details presented in this Facebook Live session are provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as educational or personalised professional advice on any subject matter. Whatever you hear during this Facebook Live is merely the opinion of the admin team. You should not act nor refrain from acting on the basis of any content included in this session without first seeking educational or other personalised professional advice from elsewhere. Where possible, references are being made from procedures and policies of the local authorities and schools. However, policies may change in light of decisions made by the school's adjudicator, the Education, Skills and Funding Agency, or any change in the law. Okay. Right, glad we got that out of the way. So now we can get started. So like I said, this is 10 things. So we've curated this. We've kind of tried to scale everything down to 10 key pieces of information. So feel free to take notes if you like. So first off, the main thing really, what are your reasons? So when it comes to 11 plus, we know that the 11 plus is a selective process. Okay, so you may have a bright or academic child that you think, yeah, I think they're well suited. That might be your main reason. It could also be for equal opportunity. Maybe you're just thinking, okay, I'm going to give it a shot and see where we end up. I'd like to give them that opportunity, especially as well if there is a sibling involved. So maybe there's an older sibling who's also gone through that process and you feel like, okay, I have to do the same for the next one, which is fair enough. It may also be that you are impressed by a particular school and that school just so happens to be maybe a grammar school or a private school, independent school that takes 11 plus students. And you think, okay, I want my child to go there, in which case that's also fine. And finally, could also be peer pressure. So is it simply a process that is happening all around you? Maybe your friends, your colleagues, family even are all putting their children through the 11 plus process, which I think is quite common.
Yeah.
And again, if that is the case, it's just knowing that you're taking on board just how much of a process this is.
Yeah.
And for the right reasons, I guess.
Yeah.
Would you agree, Nkem?
Yeah, I don't, well, it matters what your reasons are, but sometimes you can do things based on everybody else is doing it. As long as you prepare yourself for the journey ahead and you know what you're getting involved in, don't just get into it because, you know, that's what everybody's doing. So I should too.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so that brings us on to our next point, which this is a significant journey. So within that, don't underestimate the process. Okay, it takes a lot of time, money in most cases, and preparation, hard work, basically. So it will involve the sacrificing of other commitments, especially in the lead up to exams. So usually in that summer beforehand, you know, your child will be going through the whole revision process and mock exams. Okay. And it's tricky. It's really, really hard. So they may have to sacrifice other things. And also because of financial reasons, maybe, you know, you can afford a tutor or you can afford a group session, which means you therefore have to sacrifice something else, which happens for a lot of families. So just bear that in mind. And also the workload. So it will be a challenge on top of schoolwork. And especially if your child's like in year 5, it tends to ramp up a little bit in year 5 anyway. So take that into account. They may start finding it tricky with the work at school, as well as the 11 plus preparation. It can be a challenge. And finally, please consider your child's mental and emotional well-being. The whole process, as we've said, it's significant. It's quite a long journey. So I guess, and Nkem, you're probably the best one based on experience. You've been through this twice.
It's the important thing is that you recognize that this is a tasking experience. It takes its toll on the family, on family life, on the children, on you as the parents. So prepare for it. Prepare for times when your children will struggle to balance everything, and they'll come to you and say, well, nobody else at school is doing this extra work. I'm the only one. And you then have to take stock, and you can't stop if it's so important to you. You've judged that this is the best way forward for your children. But at the same time, you need to understand what they're dealing with, appreciate their challenges, and find measures to put in place to make sure that they are not ruined completely after the whole thing. You still want your child, you still want them balanced and happy. So make sure that you put in place support for them emotionally, mentally. It may be stepping back from the work sometimes and saying, okay, let's take a break this weekend. No 11 plus work, or let's go and do something fun that we all enjoy doing. And, that's important.
Definitely. And I think that also is most important leading up to the exams, because that is really when the pressure starts to build. And for parents as well as the children.
Definitely.
And
sometimes for parents more than the children.
Yes. And I'd say, once the students start doing mock exams and things like that, that is really when the panic sets in.
Yes, because you get feedback, and you have an exam in the children of their cohort, and you see how they're doing. You're thinking, oh my goodness, we're not where we thought they were. So
okay. So next up, finding support. Now, most of you guys are probably already searching for tutors, or maybe you found a tutor, or you have it in your head that you would like to do the process yourself, which is also an option. Overall, if you are going to find support, so from a tutor or a group, some kind of service, just ensure that they are experienced individuals within their field, okay? And that may mean their experience for certain schools. They have, basically a past kind of success rate. I don't like that term, but
track record.
A track record. Yeah, that's a better term. A track record for, teaching that particular syllabus or prepping students for that particular school or exam. And overall, you are looking for guidance and expertise. Okay, even in one-to-one, it's just about guidance and expertise. Okay, someone who is able to build a rapport with your child. So I was just saying to Nkem beforehand, I had a lady who, just before the exam was really, really panicking. It wasn't a nice situation, but she'd spent a lot of money on someone who had lots and lots of credentials, and she trusted that meant the child would be okay. But actually she found that this particular tutor wasn't able to build any kind of rapport with her child. There was no connection there, and therefore the child just hated lessons, basically, just found it boring and just didn't want to do the work. And I guess it's our job as tutors to do the opposite of that, and to instill a little bit of like creativity and just to encourage them really to have fun with it. So that's definitely important. And remember
sorry to interrupt you, Lucy. I was just going to say that the fact that the tutor works with lots of people that lots of children that doesn't mean that your child will automatically gel, or that there will be a rapport between them. And it's okay to say, this is a wonderful tutor, but it's not working out for my child. So
Yes.
I'm going to find something that works for my child. Don't try to force the relationship. Sometimes it just doesn't work. And it's not about the tutor. They may be a great tutor. It's not about the child. It's just some rapports are never established between certain groups of people. And that's okay. Find somebody who works for your child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Consider your budget, which obviously you would. So you have one-to-one tuition. You can also have group tuition. Think about how many students in a group and whether your child would work well, in a group of like 20 students or a small group of like 4 or 5 students. There is a difference. And obviously the service that's provided will then differ. So just, it's all things to really read up on before you decide to go ahead or to book in. And DBS is essential. Ultimately, you want your child to be safe, whether that's online or it's face-to-face. It's really, really important.
And talking about online or face-to-face, some people, feel that the children engage better face-to-face. Things have eased up a bit with COVID now, even though starting to get a bit uncertain. So you can go for a face-to-face tutor. Some people are happy with online. Online means that you can have tutors who are in a different county from your different, city teaching your child. So you need to weigh those up as well. Do you think it works best for your child to be in the same room, looking at the teacher in the flesh, or is it okay for your child to work? Are they going to be focused online? So that's something else to consider.
Definitely. Yep. Okay, next up, so we touched a little bit on DIY. So DIY tuition, so that is parents tutoring their own children. It is possible and it is a valid option, okay, because not everyone can afford to have weekly tuition and such. So but what it involves basically is researching the process, so really knowing about the 11+ process for your particular schools. So outline the exam boards and the schools. Okay, they could differ even within the same county or area. So in Essex, for example, we've got GCSE, but we also have CEM.
And they could change at short notice. So keep your eye on the ball, check the websites, listen out for any sudden changes.
Absolutely. And then create a learning plan together with you and your child. And obviously this will be based on your current commitments. Just building some kind of timetable as well, so that there is consistency. And that
is important. Consistency.
Yes. Yeah. So exactly. There's no point kind of putting lots and lots of work into something for like 2 weeks solid and then kind of having a breather because there's burnout and you're like, oh, because then, those topics aren't getting revisited. It's all about being consistent.
Yeah.
Okay. Monitor and assess your child regularly. So when you think you've taught, a few chunks of the 11+ curriculum, then kind of monitor them throughout, but assess them and just see that there is some sort of progression, and if there isn't, then you will be able to see which parts they're struggling with and maybe working on those, just topic focus.
Yeah.
And last one, I think, Nkem, you are definitely like you've been there, worn the t-shirt.
I bear the scars. So I've been through the 11+ twice as a parent and countless times as a tutor. I taught my children English. I don't teach maths. So I was very involved, not just as the parent of the child doing the 11+, but also teaching them. So it does take its toll. Well, it sort of alters your relationship. So you're no longer just parent and child. You are also teacher and tutee or whatever. And that can sometimes get a bit tricky and the lines can sometimes blur. So if you're teaching your child yourself, you have moments where they throw tantrums because they do as their children. And you have moments where you're tired as a parent, you're not motivated and you can't, whip up the energy to sort of do stuff with your children. Just be aware of that change in relationship and try to mitigate for, really, really negative outcomes. So as a teacher of your own child, you will need to be firm, and you will need to be strict, and you will need to insist on that consistency and that timetable and what you have, set out as a structure for yourself as a family. But it also means that you will need to be a parent in between that. So you will need to be the fun parent who takes them out for fun activities. You will need to be a strict parent, instilling discipline. You're juggling lots of balls. So just be aware of that. It can take its toll in a negative way if you don't prepare for it, if you suddenly come upon it and you haven't thought about it. So just prepare for the fact that you will get times when things are a bit difficult, your child doesn't want to learn or do the work, and you would, as a tutor, insist if you were a tutor and somebody was paying you for the work. So take on that role and say, no, you've got to do it. It's got to be done.
Difficult, very tricky.
It is, but it is doable. It is fun. Personally, we did have moments where there were tears and all sorts of bodily fluids, snot, and the works. But what we did was I did try to put a lot of incentivization in the work. So I would, get the children, my boys, I have 2 boys, to say, if you do this work, then we can do a fun activity. So either you play on your devices or we go to the beach or something. And they had something to look forward to. So there was a balance of teacher versus parent. I mean, a tutor wouldn't take them to the beach, except you have a wonderful tutor. But as a parent, they sort of had that to look forward to. So the balance, we sort of eventually, after lots of trial and error, got the balance right, I think. I think we got it right because I'm still alive and my boys are still alive. So we are all here to tell the tale. So obviously we did something right eventually.
Okay, which leads us on to our next point, which is starting early. We get lots of questions, or I certainly do as a tutor.
Yeah.
When should I start? I want my child to start. And honestly, with the skills that are involved in 11 plus preparation, the discipline that goes along with it, the balance of being able to juggle lots of things, those are skills that we can teach from a very young age, which will help kind of shape them and help mold them into finding it pretty easy by the time they are in kind of year 3, 4, 5. But it's basically all about creating a love of learning and modeled behavior. So this is, I would say, arguably the most important one. If a child sees their parent reading books, discussing things, having conversations about tricky topics, forming opinions about things, they will also do the same. And if you can try to create that kind of platform where you can have open conversations about things, discussions, debates, anything like that, it's really going to help. It's really, really going to help kind of consolidate those foundations, which then goes on to help them for the 11 plus. With regards to academic things, so if you did want to start on vocabulary or things like that, then just keep it fun. So playing games, keep it really lighthearted, get the whole family involved, and try to filter these activities into just everyday life. So, car journeys, going on holiday, could be at the dinner table, anything at all that you can just, don't make it just that thing that has to be kept in that room that they have to do at that set time. It's a all embodying thing. So I think creating a love for learning is really important, because if your child enjoys learning, when it comes to the 11 plus, even if the work is overwhelming at times, because of that love, that will get them through to a certain degree. And creating a love for learning means things like seeing the beauty in learning, seeing the result of learning things. Because when you know things, nobody can take that knowledge away from you. It doesn't matter how young or old you are. And it's in doing timetable, but not in 1 5s are 5, 1 2 5s are. It gets a bit monotonous and boring, and they will get some of that at school. But let them look forward to, your child at 1, go to the box or the bookshelf and bring your book to read to them. Let them not want to go to bed until you've read stories with them, and let that be going. You can build that into your lifestyle so that it's fun.
I think if
Yes.
children have fun attached to any activity, then they want to do it. It's when the life and joy is sucked out of it and it becomes this really awful activity and onerous task. That's where you have quite a fight on your hand. Playing games as a family, I mean, you know how much fun you have with things like Scrabble. They may be a bit too young for Scrabble, but you have lots of word games, those puzzles, those non-verbal reasoning starts from putting those jigsaw puzzle pieces together from when they're 6 months old, 7 months old. So you can start really early. I don't mean get a Schofield and Sims book, no disrespect to Schofield and Sims or CGP. That's not what we mean. We mean making it really fun, but incorporating learning activities into your everyday life.
Absolutely. Yeah, couldn't agree more. Okay, next up, raising the game. So in order to understand the process, we've tried to condense it down basically into, it's like taking the curriculum one step further. So if your child is in year 4, for example, at school, and they're doing really well and they're understanding everything, the feedback's coming back, really positive from their teacher, then you don't feel afraid to kind of push the boat out a bit and, take it that one step further. So give them some more challenging materials and resources, give them some year 5 work and see how they get on with it. A lot of the time it's not that scary for them. If anything, they like the challenge and they're like, oh, I want to learn about this. I've not seen this before. And as a general rule of thumb, I mean, the year 5s that I'm teaching at the minute, the comprehensions that we're doing, they are year 6 standard, year 6 and beyond. And yes, there will be information in there that they think, I don't get it, I don't understand it. But that's part of it. And then we discuss things, we have that conversation about it. So yeah, don't be afraid to give them more challenging stuff. Maturity, encouraging maturity and acknowledging it, emotional maturity, and them coming to you and asking about things, and we've spoken a lot about conversation and how important that is, and just conversing with your child. Just encourage it. Don't ever kind of think, oh no, they're too young. Obviously there will be, will be certain things that you think, no, that I definitely can't go there, but overall, there's so much in the world around them that they're still learning about. So if you can encourage that and say, yeah, sure, we can talk about politics, or sure, we can talk about this or that, then it's really going to help boost their maturity. And I think in our experience as tutors, the ones who do really, really well and just sail through the 11+ process are the ones who are mature. They have that maturity about them where they do have those discussions at home. I
think it's also important that maturity comes from being allowed to reason for themselves.
Yes.
And I think as parents that we a lot of time think we're doing our children a favor by stepping in to help them work things out.
Yeah.
At a certain stage or certain ages, that's all well and good. But certainly if your child is preparing for the 11+, they need that independence of thought. The ability to be presented with a problem, whether that be in any of the disciplines in the 11+, maths, English, verbal reasoning, non-verbal reasoning, and to think it within themselves. What do I know? What have I experienced that I can put together, even though what I'm faced with is a challenge? I don't really know what this question, I don't know how to solve the question, but what do I know? What can I use? What can I bring to the table to put together to start to make, head and tail out of this? And that comes from allowing your children to reason. Reasoning is a really huge distinguishing factor between those that do well in the 11+ versus those that don't. If they can reason, even if they don't know something, they can still come up with an answer. If it's not a multiple choice exam, they can write their reasoning and they can be awarded marks for their reasoning, even if their end result or end answer is not the correct answer. Certainly in subjects like English, it's very subjective and it's very opinion based. So you can give an opinion, which is not necessarily what the examiner was after, but they can sit back and appreciate, okay, I hadn't considered this point of view. This is valid and it's worthy of marks. So, and that comes from encouraging that sort of discussion, expression of opinion, and ability to express an opinion without being shot down. So opinion is valid. It may not be the accepted or expected opinion, but it's valid. How about maybe we look at things from the other way, and then you just, sort of have that conversation with the kids.
Definitely. Yep. So broadening knowledge through conversation, and you can have topic discussions, things like society itself. You can go back in time, look at history, ethics, politics, anything like that. Really, really good basis for conversation. Yeah, absolutely.
Influencers on YouTube and Instagram, and how that affects us, and whether that's, just anything really.
Exactly. And I mean, if you can tie it into modern life and the things that they experience, then absolutely it's going to be more exciting and, intriguing for them.
Yep.
Okay. Next up, finding a balance. So we know as parents, there needs to be that support there, that parental support. Just like when your child is at school, the teachers ask that you can also apply certain things at home, like reading and, reading logs, all of that thing. So, I'm doing it now at the minute with my daughter. She's just started, she's in reception, and the school are very much, parents have to be on board too. This is very much a two-way process. And the same goes for the 11 plus. So if you do have a tutor, then they need your support at home and kind of overall supervision of the process. So it's important not to just hand your child over to the tutor and expect that they're going to fix everything and just, they're going to come out at the end of the process and just pass their exam and that's it. It takes a lot more than that in our role as parents. Once you think you've found the right tutor, or maybe you've gone for something, you've paid for the service, you've had a few trial sessions, and your child's enjoying it and they're progressing. Once you've hit that point, then trust the professional within their field. Okay. And that's really important, I guess, on our behalf as tutors. We're always kind of thinking that there needs to be that level of acceptance, I guess, and trust. Just in us knowing our particular field and within our experience, because that's what we do day in, day out.
I find it's an analogy. If you want to have a surgery on a particular whatever issue you're having, you do your research, you look around for specialists in that field, you settle on a surgeon, eventually you have a few consultations, you're comfortable with the surgeon, and then you go for surgery. You don't tell the surgeon during the surgery to put you on an anesthetic where you can tell them what to do. Oh, have you cut open the skin? Have you, you trust them at that point, having, had all these conversations with them, that they know what they're doing and they will do right by you. And so once you have settled, like Lucy said, on a tutor, you're happy that that relationship is working, they've built a rapport with your child, they're communicating with you about progress, trust them. Don't be that parent who's constantly butting in and saying, oh, but when are you going to do creative writing? And when are you going to do comprehension? And when are we going to start doing papers? If a tutor has a track record of preparing children in the 11 plus, then they know when the right time to introduce certain topics is, and they know the right time to introduce your child. And if they've developed a rapport with your child, they know when your child will be prepared for those different challenges. So give them a chance to do their job properly.
Definitely. And I'd also say, it differs a little between one-to-one and group, because for group tuition, you're paying less money than one-to-one. And the reason you're paying less money is because your child is still receiving that service.
Should still be.
However, it is group, and there needs to be a very clear set of guidelines and boundaries, to be honest, before you start tuition, so that you do have everything outlined and you know exactly what you're getting for that price. Okay. So I'm very transparent with clients, and I'll say, look, it's group tuition. I don't mark every single piece of homework. They do get set weekly homework, but they get answers to self-mark, and then I do an individual assessment termly, at the end of a term. So they're still kind of getting a little bit of one-to-one, but ultimately they are paying for group. With one-to-one, it's slightly different. And again, you need to get that ironed out before you start, and just make sure, you know, what am I getting for this service?
That's important. Yeah.
Am I able to email you? Am I able to message you? And that leads us on to the next point, which is don't be afraid to ask questions. So if you do have any queries, or you think, oh, I'm not quite sure, you know, what's happening with this, then don't be afraid to ask questions, because I'm pretty sure any tutor would be happy to answer them.
They should be happy to answer them.
Should be.
You should be worried if a tutor is not transparent and not willing to get into conversations with you about concerns you may have about your child. That would be a red flag, in my opinion. So, you know, you're not challenging what they're doing. You're just saying, I just need to understand so I can support you, because we're, you know, as we've established, parental support is, you know, invaluable. So you want to know and you want to find out, and they're the professional and you're asking them. So they should be willing to answer your questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And maintain regular contact. So, you know, just touch base with them every now and then, and just ask any questions that you have, or put forward any queries. And again, it just keeps that relationship going, you know, so that there is that transparency. Okay. Next up, less can be more. So there are students out there who have more than one teacher, more than one group. I think particularly within different subjects. Certainly I've got students that have a maths tutor, for example, and then I take them on for the English. That's absolutely fine, because it's separate subjects, okay? But if you are signing your child up to more than one group or teacher within a subject, you have to be wary of the fact there could be a little bit of confusion there, because you've got more than one style of teaching within the same subject. It's going to cause at some points confusion, because there will be different methods, different styles. Just, you know, you have to kind of consider that before you put all your eggs in one basket, I guess, and sign up to everything because you think that equals success. And then with that will come added preparation. So if you've signed your child up to, say, 2 English tutors, okay, each with different styles and, like I've said, different methods, and
different pieces of homework.
That's the thing. It's twice the amount of preparation, which is going to overwhelm your child at certain points. It's going to be too overwhelming, as well as their normal schoolwork. Plus the financial commitment. It's going to be added stress for you as parents. And to be honest, most children will be able to sense that stress. And it's like a vicious cycle then. It just adds on, and they think, oh no, but I need to do really well because mum and dad are really stressed. And, you know, and eventually it does lead to burnout. Of course it does, because there's all of these different emotions going on, as well as the demands, you know, which can be quite exhausting. So definitely consider that. Just be wary of it. It's not a big no-no, but I personally wouldn't recommend it. I think once you've found the right tutor for a subject, stick with that tutor and trust in them. Yeah.
I think if a lot of people are honest, it's the FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yeah.
You know, you've heard that this tutor is the be all and end all for the 11 plus for a particular school or a particular region. But you've also got this other place that also, you know, and you're thinking, well, I'll get the best of both or all 10 worlds and sign my child up to all of these. And it can be counterproductive. So think about it really carefully before you commit to all of these different strands of tutoring, because it does have a long-term effect on your child, and trying to balance all of that might be more than your child can handle, and that's counterproductive in the end.
Exactly. Yeah, we've seen it a lot, haven't we, both of us? Yeah,
definitely.
Next up, so penultimate one, exam technique. So of course it's understanding the curriculum, but it's also about introducing exam technique early. And within exams, we're, you know, being asked to do different things for different reasons. and there are a different number of time limits and number of marks that are up for grabs. So these kind of things can be introduced early. You can start just get your child just to sit with a highlighter if they're doing a comprehension passage, for example, and just highlight what they're being asked to do in each question. What are those key words? So, does it say find some evidence, for example? Has it got the line numbers that they have to look in? These are all kind of miniature instructions that need to be picked up on. So those kind of things can be done pretty early on. Working within time limits. So if your child has got, I don't know, a descriptive piece of writing to do for homework, just see how they get on by giving them a time limit. And this means like free from distractions, because this is, it's the same kind of style as what they would be doing in the exam. So it's getting them used to working under pressure. Using number of marks as a guide. So for them to look at a particular question that's maybe worth 4 marks and being able to say, okay, I think that means I need to have 2 points with evidence and a bit of explanation. Just understanding what exam papers are all about. And finally, being smart enough to know when to skip or move on. If they don't understand something, don't beat yourself up about it and stay stuck on that question for 5 minutes thinking, oh, but I should know this, because ultimately that 5 minutes is lost, and you could have answered 4 or 5 more questions. Who knows?
Can I say about this as well? If you are not doing it yourself, if you have a tutor, you really want a tutor who gives a balance of teaching content, so the actual subject matter, and also teaching exam techniques. You'll find that a lot of people think that natural ability is the only thing that a child needs to pass the 11 plus. Whilst that is a fantastic advantage, a child with natural ability who hasn't been taught the exam techniques, so doesn't know about timing, doesn't know that they need to recognize what each keyword is asking them to do, or how to structure their answer to get the maximum number of marks, depending on the mark scheme, they won't do well, because they just don't know how to structure their answers in a way that the examiners can give them the marks. So it's very important that there's a balance of both the curriculum as well as exam technique. You want to make sure that they're being taught both.
Exactly. I think the best analogy that I can think of is driving a car, learning to drive and pass your test. You can know how to drive a car, like naturally, you can know how it works, the physical motion of driving a car. But as soon as you get onto the road, checking your mirrors, the theory, knowing the road signs, your hazard perception, if you haven't trained to do that, there's no way you're going to pass the test.
That's right.
So it's having that balance. Finally, then, study skills. So study skills are a huge part of 11 plus prep, and are quite often, I'd say, underestimated, really, or just kind of forgotten about. But really, if you start implementing study skills and knowing how to revise and prepare for an exam, it's going to be an investment in your child's future, because there are going to be lots of exams that they're going to sit, especially throughout secondary school, going on to A levels, university. And again, study skills is embedded within all of those. So knowing how to revise before exams, in the lead up to exams, building a timetable. Again, it's about structure. Bite-sized chunks. So learning in bite-sized chunks, and not saying, you have to revise for your exam because it's in a couple of weeks' time, so you're going to do 4 hours of study today. I mean, less is more. That is, again, it's that recurrent phrase, because actually within those 4 hours, your child probably only uses lots and lots of brain power to understand and revise for about an hour of it. Or they'll probably only focus within an hour. The rest of that time, they'll be like, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't, lack of motivation. They're thinking about what they're going to have for dinner. And, it's knowing how long and how effective to make it. And then, of course, as you're going through revision and mock exams and things like that, you can revisit tricky topics. So if you can see a pattern of something that keeps coming up, that they are getting wrong or they're struggling with or they're taking longer on, then of course, factor that in, build it into their study plan.
Yeah.
And yeah, overall, it's an investment in future studies. So learning these skills now is going to set the benchmark for their future.
And can I just say that revision is not necessarily doing tons of papers, past question papers. Some people think that in the run up to the exam, the more papers you do, that's it.
Yeah.
If you give a child 10 papers and they don't know how to answer a particular type of question, out of those 10 papers, they may guess once or twice and get it right. But the point is they don't know. So you do need to, like bullet point 4 says, revisit those tricky topics. So do a paper, go through the paper with your child, see what sticky areas that they have, take a step back, revise those together, get all your books or your sheets or whatever it is you've got from your tutors or from the books that you may have bought, and look at those topics, look at them in different ways, watch YouTube videos. There's so much out there now that you can benefit from, and make sure that they have an understanding of those areas. Then you can give another paper and then monitor progress, so you can see, okay, last time before you did it, you didn't quite know how to do this, now you do understand how, you've done it a bit better. All right, let's revise a bit more. So it's sort of balancing different things at different times. And also there's a revision style of interleaving. Interleaving simply means teaching a topic or a subject, going away from it, leaving it for a few weeks or a few months, and then coming back to it. Children in year 5 at the moment who will be taking their exams next September are not going to remember everything that they're learning now. So these topics will need to be revisited. Things like punctuation, spellings, techniques on how to, what type of questions you get in comprehension, how to answer them. You will need to go over those again and again. So make sure you do it periodically so that embeds the knowledge. It's like laying a layer each time. And every time you revise that topic again, you put another layer and you put another layer and and it builds up. So at the end, you have this really solid and thick layer of understanding, which you would have established over time.
Yeah, like core skills. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's it. That brings us to the end of our session. So thank you so much for watching, guys. You can replay this video at any time. You can also share it. So if there's any friends or family that you feel would benefit from it, then please do give them the link to the group for them to join and have a look. Invite your friends to the group, and please make the most of our free resources, which obviously all of our admins have curated especially for you. You can't get them anywhere else. And that's not just for 11+. That's
watch some other videos as well. There are loads and loads of videos on different topics in the group.
So in our guide section, we have everything kind of split up into different areas. But yeah, absolutely essential, really, and free advice, and it's all from experts. So yeah, wonderful. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Nkem. You've been a wonderful co-host.
Thank you.
And we will see you guys very soon. Okay, take care. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.